Hello and welcome. I'm Chris from Learnry, and in this video we are going to be taking a look at the DOM, events and also event handlers. So the document object model is a cross-platform and a language-independent interface that treats an XML or an HTML document like a tree structure where each node of the tree is an object representing a part of the document. Again, the DOM has many methods which allow programmatic access to the tree, and these methods can be used to change the structure or style any content at all of the document. Also, let me add that nodes can have event handlers attached to them, and once an event is triggered, the event handler gets executed. So events are basically actions that occur usually as a result of something the user of a computer does. An event can be triggered programmatically or by a user's action like pressing the mouse button or tapping a key on the keyboard. Now, as far as event handling is concerned in JavaScript, it all depends on determining which event or events you want to trigger some activity and then attaching a JavaScript functionality to that particular event. Now, the earliest form of event handling is still one of the most common, and that is basically the use of an event handler. Again, many DOM elements can be set up to accept or listen for events and then execute code in response to process or handle these events. Event handlers are also usually connected or attached to various HTML elements like buttons or divs or spans and even many other nodes or elements. So you can learn more about JavaScript events and also event handling in our JavaScript cheat sheet, which will be included in the description section below. Now that we've seen the difference between the DOM, events and also event handlers, let's head over to our code editor and we're going to see a few examples on events and also event handlers. Okay guys, so as always I have my Google Chrome browser open on the left hand side, and on the right hand side I have my Visual Studio Code editor. So let's go ahead and we're going to go above our script tag. We're going to create a button. We're going to give it the name of Say Hello. And let's also give the button an ID of btn, and we're going to save this. So we can see our Say Hello button has been created for us. But when we click on the button, nothing happens. That is because currently we can click on the button, but there is no event handler to listen for that particular event. That is a click event. So let's go inside our script tag, and we are basically going to add a click event handler to listen for the click event and then subsequently run a piece of code whenever we click on the button. So we are basically going to say document dot get element by ID, and we are simply going to pass the ID of btn, and we are going to add this event handler. So on click, then we want to run a function. Now this particular function is not going to expect any parameters at all. So inside this function, let's have an alert, and we are basically going to alert the text hello world. If I can spell world, and then I'm going to end this with a semicolon, and we save all this. So now when we head over to our button and we click on it, we can see we have an alert that says hello world. Now let's head over to our code, and I'm going to explain what I've just done. So this document here means the code should search through the HTML document and then get any element at all that has the ID of btn. And once it finds that particular element, it should attach a click event handler to that particular element. And so what is going to happen at the end is that the moment somebody clicks on that particular element, which happens to be a button, this particular function is going to be executed. Now inside the function we have an alert statement, which basically is going to show a pop-up with the text hello world written in there. So we click on the button, you can see that we have a pop-up, and inside the pop-up we have a hello world text. So let's click on OK. And so we are going to use this knowledge to build a very basic calculator, which is basically going to accept two numbers from a user, and then it's going to add the values of the input fields and simply give an alert of the answer. So let's clear out this code here, and we are going to go on top of the button. We're going to add some input fields. So this input field is going to be of type number, and let's give it a placeholder of number 1. We're also going to give it an ID of number 1, and let's save this. So you can see we have our first input field. I'm basically going to copy this and I'm going to paste it below the first input field. Then let's change this number 1 to a 2, and also let's change this 1 to 2. Let's save all this. Now let's go to our button and we're going to clear the whole of this text, and we're going to have add here. Let's save this. So I think basically that is going to be it for the HTML aspect. Now let's go into our script tag, and we are basically going to have an alert. So I'll say alert, and we are going to have our opening and closing bracket. Now inside here we are going to say pass float, and inside the pass float function we are going to say document dot get element by ID, and we are simply going to get the first input field, which has the ID of number 1. Then we are interested in the value of that particular input field. So I'm basically going to copy this, and whatever value we get from that input field, we are going to add it to the second input field. So let's change this number 1 to 2, and we are going to save all this and also end this with a semicolon. Okay, so now that we have this alert code, I'm basically going to cut this, and we are going to target our button now. So we are going to say document dot get element by ID, and we are going to pass the ID of btn, which is the ID of our button, and we are going to say on click, then it should run a certain function. So again, this function is not going to expect any parameters at all. Now inside this function, I'm going to paste my alert code, and we're going to end it with a semicolon. Save all this. So now let's head over to our browser, and we're going to enter 2 here in the first input field, and we're also going to enter 3 in the second input field, and click on the add button. Now we can see there is now a pop-up with the alert of 5, which is the addition of 2 and then 3. Let's click on OK, and we are now going to clear this and enter 10 here, and then when we click on add, you can see we got 13. Now the final thing we are going to do is to basically add a piece of code that clears each input field the moment we click on the add button. So what we are going to do is I'm basically going to copy all this. So let's paste it below the alert code, and what we are simply going to do is we are going to set the value of the input 1 to an empty string, and then let's end it with a semicolon. Then we are going to do the same thing for the second input. So I'm going to change this 1 to a 2, and I'm going to save all this. So let's enter 10 into the first input field, and also enter, let's say, 20 into the second input field. And so when we click on add, you can see we got 30, but when I click on OK, now you can see that both input fields have been cleared out. So all these things we did were possible because of events and also event handlers. So in this particular example, we heavily used the click event and also the click event handler to be able to achieve this very basic calculator example. And I would like to say that if you enjoy these videos that I create, I urge you to click on the subscribe button, because it encourages me to create more of these kinds of videos. And if you have any questions at all about this video, I urge you to leave it in the comment section below. Bye for now, and I'll see you in the next video.